If you're in the market for a new, I'm a Rolex fanboy, but if you're in the market for a new Rolex Submariner or a new Rolex SeaDweller, either two-tone or in steel, and you're willing to pay that premium, then you need to check out these watches, because just watch the video. It'll all make sense. Check out the video. Welcome back to Bark and Jack. I'm Adrian, and lots of people start Instagram accounts or blogs or YouTube channels because they know a lot about a subject or they're experts in a certain area. And I started Bark and Jack about 7 or 8 years ago because I wanted to document my exploration of watches. And I do see Bark and Jack as more of a travel blog, if you will, and kind of traveling to different locations, and we're exploring them together. We're learning things about that location. It's just that location is a watch as opposed to a city or a country. The reason I mention that is because the brand we're going to look at today is not a new brand. They've been around for ages, and they got in contact with me about 18 months ago, and they just didn't really have anything that I connected with, and so I didn't really engage. But last year they launched some tool watches that did catch my eye, and this year they have taken those tool watches to the next level. Today we are looking at the Glashutte Original 2019 SeaQ Panorama Date in steel and the new 2020 SeaQ Panorama Date in bicolour. Going back to the travel blog analogy, I feel like I've ventured off the high street and I'm now going down a side street that I've walked past and ignored for years because I assumed that there was nothing down there that would interest me. But lo and behold, I've found a cute little restaurant. Very quiet on the outside, but when you go in, a nice relaxed atmosphere and the food's incredible. I feel like I've found a little gem, and this little place just craps on all of the high street chains that everyone usually talks about. These watches cost similar to a Rolex two-tone SeaDweller. So if you like your larger dive watches, your slightly flashier dive watches, then this is going to be right in your bag. Also, if you're a fan of Oris and their Divers SixtyFive, you like the character that those watches have, but they're just not quite highbrow enough for you, then again, this is going to be your bag. And no, this isn't a sponsored video. I do, however, feel like this is a bit of a public service announcement for anyone who is thinking about spending a premium on something like a Rolex Submariner or SeaDweller. Listen, I'm a Rolex fanboy. I'm a big supporter of the products that they make. I love the products that they make. I like the branding. I like the story. I like everything around Rolex. But that being said, I do get annoyed when people put Rolex on too much of a pedestal. Yes, the branding is incredible. You can't beat the Rolex brand. But when it comes to watchmaking, there's a lot out there that does beat Rolex. This stuff is most certainly one of them. Now, these watches are not small, and despite the colour difference and the difference in release dates, the specs are exactly the same. We have a 43.2mm wide case, which is 15.65mm deep, but that is a bit deceiving because the glass is really heavily domed. So we've got a very tall, very domed sapphire crystal on top. We also have a screw down crown, and this watch has 300 meters of water distance. I'm going to focus on the bicolour version because that's my favorite of the two, and it's also the newer version. But on the dial, we have oversized everything. We've got oversized numerals, oversized hands, then got the massive date at 4 o'clock. When I posted photographs of this on Instagram at Bark and Jack, a lot of people commented that they didn't like the date window on this watch and they felt like it ruined the flow of the dial. I'm very happy to call out date windows when I don't like them and I think they ruin the dial, but actually in this case I do really like the date window. I like the fact that we have a very large, very legible date window without the requirement of a cyclops. And also I like the date function. This isn't a normal date disc that has all the numbers around. We have two independently rotating discs. Each digit is independent to each other, which I think is a very subtle but quite a cool little feature. The dial in this grey one is absolutely spot on. I wouldn't change anything with this dial. I'm a massive fan of grey, But also, I like the fact that this has a sunburst dial. I'm not usually a fan of sunburst dials, but on this, it really works. The burst gives an extra dimension. It makes it a little bit more interesting than just a flat grey dial. We then have the red gold numerals filled with superluminova, and exactly the same with these big, fat, oversized hands. And everything is really very well finished. We have a red gold bezel with a black ceramic insert, and without doubt, this is the best bezel action I have ever felt. You click it and it's there. There's no messing about. There's no question about where this bezel is sitting. I do like that kind of subdued, quite dubbed down click of it. Honestly, such a brilliant bezel action. You've probably noticed that the bezel alignment isn't quite there on this watch. It's ever so slightly off to the right. Now, to be fair to these guys, this is a press loaner, a prototype, so this isn't the final end piece. I have checked other videos, other blogs, and people sharing photographs of their own watches, and the bezel looks perfectly aligned. So I'd say that's just down to this being a press loaner. This type of watch is always quite tricky for brands to do because you're mixing quite obvious luxury with toolness, and it's quite a difficult thing to play about with, but I think these guys have nailed it. It obviously errs on the side of luxury more than toolness with the gold, the highly polished areas, but I think they have executed this really very well. I love the very simple vintage style brushed steel case with then the highly polished red gold bezel, along with that red gold crown as well. All of that tied in with the grey dial. This whole package is just stunning. The blue version in steel is obviously finished to the same high standard and it's the same spec, but for some reason the blue version just doesn't really do anything for me. It's I don't know, there's just something about it that reason standard. Maybe it's a bracelet. I'll touch on the bracelet later because I've got a few gripes with it. Yeah, for me, the bicolour really does stand out between the two. Regardless of the colourways, the dials are stunning dials. But the best bit is the backside. It is just pure naughtiness. When you flip the watch over, you have a sapphire crystal caseback, which is pretty impressive considering this has 300 meters of water resistance. And underneath, we have the in-house caliber 3613. The looks and finishing of this movement, absolutely amazing. And I love that there isn't too much on display. There's a little bit to show, but a lot of it is hidden away. We have a skeletonized logoed rotor with a 21 karat red gold weight attached. We have black polishing, we've got perlage, we've got deep grain stripes, we've got beveled edges. There are just so many textures going on with this movement. Love it. Absolutely love it. But it's not just pretty, and that's what I like about this watch, is that it's not just a good looking watch, it's a capable watch. This movement has 100 hours of power reserve. That's just over 4 days of power reserve. And down at 6 o'clock, you have the balance cock holding the balance wheel that's spinning with a silicon hairspring, along with the swan neck regulator on top for fine adjustments. That's also black polished. This movement is also tested for 12 days in 6 positions. Now, despite the pretty looks and quite flashy looks and all the delicate little details that it has, this is a genuine dive watch. This is an ISO 6425 certified dive watch, which means that this watch has been actually tested as a real world dive watch and meets all the criteria to be certified as a dive watch. To be ISO 6425 certified, it has to be at least 100 meters water resistant. That criteria is quite obvious, but the watch actually goes through 24 days worth of tests. One of which is a shock test where a 3 kilogram hammer is hit against the watch twice and accuracy cannot change beyond plus or minus 60 seconds a day. Another test is where the watch is directly exposed to a 4,800 amp meter magnetic field 3 times and accuracy must be within 30 seconds a day. So this isn't just another hipstery looking vintage inspired dive watch. I mean, I don't know if anyone's actually going to go diving with this watch, but it's nice to know that it can actually do it. This is the real McCoy. There are a few strap options with these watches, slightly fewer for the gold ones. On the steel, you have the option of a bracelet, you've got a rubber strap, and then you've got a nylon strap. On the gold, you have the option with a rubber strap or a nylon strap. Usually, my rule of thumb is if a watch comes on a bracelet, get it with the bracelets because it's cheaper to then buy the strap afterwards than trying to buy the bracelet afterwards. Also, when it comes to selling the watch, if you decide to sell the watch, it's easier to sell a watch when it has a bracelet. Now, I love the bracelet, but also I dislike the bracelet at the same time. The bracelet's very clever, it's very well engineered, of course it is, but it has polished center links, and I can't stand the polished center links. I feel that goes a step, it doesn't make sense because the other one has gold in it. But I feel like the polished center links take it a little too far off the track of it being a tool watch. It feels a bit too blingy, which again doesn't make sense because the other one's gold and I prefer the gold one. But anyway, I don't like the look of the bracelet. I think these watches, especially the two-tone, especially the bimetal, looks incredible on this grey nylon strap. I think the grey nylon strap pushes it more towards the tool edge. I will say, however, the bracelet has an amazing bracelet extension mechanism inside. The logo on the bracelet is actually a button. You press it down and that allows you to interact with the micro extension. The biggest thing that annoys me about the strap and bracelet are the fact that they're 21mm wide, or rather the lug width is 21mm wide, which makes it annoying for people like myself who sell watch straps over at barkandjack.shop because we don't have 21mm wide straps. We only have 18, 20 and 22mm wide straps. Well, to be fair, we have very few straps left in stock anyway, and that's because we're going to be launching new straps really very, very soon. And we're going to be launching these new straps to people on our mailing list first. So if you want to be on that mailing list, just jump over to barkandjack.com and just fill out your details on the front there. Now, after showing you all that stuff, it will be interesting to find out what your thoughts are on the price of this thing. We've got a good looking watch, that's debatable. I think it's a good looking watch. Got gold's expensive. Got a nicely finished movement, a high performing movement. It's ISO certified. The price is, well, for the blue on steel is £10,400. For the two-tone with the grey nylon strap is £12,700. I know there's going to be loads of comments of people saying, oh, but you can buy this or that from Rolex for that much money. They're not in the same league. They aren't. Again, I am not bashing Rolex. I'm a big Rolex fan, but it's like when people compare Rolex to JLC. They aren't in the same realm. They aren't in the same watchmaking realm. These guys are proper watchmakers. Rolex is a watch brand. I'm not bashing Rolex. I'm a big fan of Rolex. Really big fan of Rolex, but they're not in the same league. As you can tell, I'm quite excited about this watch, and it kind of goes to the point that I said at the start of this video about me being on a journey. It's fun when you find a new restaurant. It's fun when you find a city that you really like and there just feels like a connection. That's what I feel like with this watch. It's that thing of I've found something new. And I know I haven't found something new. I know that Glashutte isn't a new brand, and I know that this watch, the steel version, certainly isn't a new watch. But for me, as a watch enthusiast, as someone who's exploring watches, I feel like I found something new for me. And that's quite exciting. I do really like this thing. Anyway, guys, as always, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Have you got hands-on with one of these watches? Drop me a comment down below. Let me know what you think. If you like this video, then hit that thumbs up button. And if you like the style of this video, then hit the subscribe button down there and the little bell icon so you get notifications when I drop a new video. If you want to check out previous videos or articles, I'm dropping articles every other day over at barkandjack.com, so jump over there and check them out. If you want to check out some of our watch straps and accessories, we still do have some in stock, so jump over to barkandjack.com and click on the little shop button on the top right hand corner. If you're on Instagram, give me a follow at barkandjack. See you guys next time. Take care.